Single Dad's heartwarming journey. Discover the incredible truth behind his new Babysitter's hidden story. Jack stared out the window of his small, cozy kitchen, watching the golden rays of the Chicago sun break through the clouds. It was another morning of chaos, but Jack wore a smile as he flipped pancakes for Emily, his spirited teenage daughter. The lively sizzle filled the air, drowning out the jumble of thoughts about juggling 3 part-time jobs, while making sure Emily didn't feel shortchanged. He settled into the rhythm, where love and worry danced hand in hand. "Hey, Dad, can we get chocolate chips in these?" Emily's excited voice broke the silence, and Jack's heart warmed at the sight of her bouncy curls gleaming with sunlight. She had this way of making the world feel lighter, even when their financial situation loomed like a dark cloud. Jack carefully dropped in a handful of chocolate chips, feeling the weight of his struggles dissolve for a moment in the laughter that followed. But soon, the laughter faded into a tightness in his chest. He knew Emily was facing more than just typical teenage pressures. She was wrestling with bullies who had recently discovered the stark realities of their life. Jack's stomach knotted at the thought. He wanted to shield her, to dive into the fray and protect her from every hurtful word. That's when he decided to hire a babysitter, someone to lighten the load at home. A fresh face who could bring a spark of joy. Maria arrived one dusty Tuesday afternoon, a soft-spoken college student with a shy smile. Initially, Jack viewed her through the prism of practicality, an extra set of hands who could help him with errands and lighten Emily's burdens. But he quickly realized she was a bright light to both of them. As Jack witnessed Emily and Maria sharing whispered secrets over pizza and late-night giggles, his heart swelled. They found common ground in their love for music and late-night movies, fostering a bond that brought warmth to their home. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Everything shifted when Emily became a target of cruel jokes at school. The acidic sting of words that insinuated their financial struggles pierced Jack's heart. He felt his defenses rising as a father, fury igniting within him. How could anyone judge their worth by the size of their wallet? Their home felt smaller that day, filled with the echo of Emily's quiet tears. Jack knew he had to stand against the tide of judgment that seeped through their neighborhood like an unwanted energy. Through this turmoil, Maria stood beside him like the unexpected ally he had known he needed. They began to rally the other parents and families, forging connections over shared experiences that connected the dots between their stories of hardship and resilience. Hours spent in hushed discussions turned into heated passion at town hall meetings as Jack found his voice rising among those who felt unheard like him. Just when he thought they were making headway, a rumor threatened everything they'd built. Whispers encircled Maria, casting her as something she wasn't. Jack felt the ground quaking beneath him as he stood at the crossroads of loyalty to Maria and his desire to shield Emily. No one prepared him for the moment he would have to stand and fight for what they believed in. Would he find the strength to bridge the gap and choose justice over fear? As Jack's heart raced and he looked into the crowd at the upcoming town hall, it was a stark reminder that sometimes the hardest battles demand the greatest courage. Jack took a deep breath, glancing over at Maria, who sat quietly nearby. The tension in the room buzzed like static electricity, palpable and heavy. This wasn't just about him or Emily anymore. It was about standing up against the whispers that threatened to unravel everything they had built together. As the meeting commenced, Jack's heart pounded in his chest. Parents filled the room, some with familiar faces and others he had never seen before. They all carried stories of their own, stories of struggles, of overcoming obstacles that threatened to silence them. But today was different. Today, they were finding their voices. Jack could see it, the determination etched in their expressions. Silence has never served anyone, he thought as he stepped to the front of the room. The murmurs quieted, curious eyes focused on him. Jack cleared his throat, the words teetering on the tip of his tongue like a precarious tightrope walker. "I'm here to talk about the rumors spreading about Maria," he began, his voice steady with each syllable. Rumors that aimed to put anyone down because of their struggles or past. He could feel the weight of the crowd's scrutiny, eyes darting between him and Maria, who remained seated, her expression calm, yet unsure. She's not just a babysitter. She's a college student, someone working hard to better her life, just like many of us here. A few heads nodded in agreement, and it ignited a small flame of courage within Jack. We all have battles we're fighting. We know what it's like to feel judged for what we don't have, but we also know we're worth so much more than what status or wealth can define. The tension shifted, and he saw an older woman in the back blink away tears. Encouraged, Jack continued, "Every time we choose silence, we let judgment win. It's time to expose the truth. Maria deserves to be treated with dignity, just like everyone else in this room." The crowd began to murmur in agreement, and Jack could sense the tide turning. It wasn't an easy shift, but it was happening, the first signs of change, a collective resilience blossoming from their shared struggles. Someone in the back stood up. Roger, a father known for his fierce loyalty. "Jack is right. My family has dealt with our share of hardship. We can't let rumors tear us apart. We need to support one another." His voice echoed, and soon others joined, sharing their stories, revealing their vulnerabilities as they stood together. One by one, they each claimed their place, threading their personal narratives into a tapestry of solidarity. Jack watched in awe as Maria's face flushed with surprise and gratitude. As the crowd gained momentum, Jack realized this battle was bigger than he had imagined. He could not only defend Maria, but also foster a community that stood for understanding rather than judgment. They could build something stronger together, a sense of belonging. Finally, when the meeting came to a close, Jack found himself at a crossroads again. He and Maria exchanged glances, both knowing they had taken a giant leap forward, yet an unsettling apprehension lurked in the back of his mind. What would the morning bring? Would the rumors have their last laugh, or had the seeds of unity been planted deep enough to flourish? Just then, a teenager, a face Jack recognized from Emily's school, walked up to him. She looked nervous, but determination flickered in her eyes. "Mr. Jack, can I talk to you about something? There's more happening at school, and I think we need to address it together." As her words hung in the air, Jack felt his heart race again. What more did they need to confront? The stakes felt higher, but so did the opportunity for change. Would he be ready for whatever came next? Jack nodded, feeling the weight of the moment settle deep in his chest. The girl stood there, eyes wide as she shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "It's about Emily and some of her friends. They're scared. They feel like they can't talk to anyone about what is happening at school." Concern twisted through Jack as he glanced at Maria. He could see the same apprehension mirrored in her eyes. "What kind of scared?" he asked, lowering his voice, instinctively protecting the girl's confidentiality. "They're being picked on, and it's not just rumors about Maria. It's worse. Some kids are saying really horrible things and making it hard for them to even want to come to school." The girl's voice trembled as she spoke, but Jack could sense the courage behind her words. Jack's heart sank. "And Emily? Is she okay?" The girl hesitated, biting her lip. "She has been quiet. I think she is scared too, but she wants to help. We all do." Jack looked back at the gathering of parents and the newfound strength they had built. He suddenly realized that the power to change things wasn't just about defending Maria anymore. It had to extend to the kids too. They were hurting, and they needed to know they weren't alone. "We need to talk about this," Jack said firmly, feeling a surge of determination. "Would you be willing to bring your friends? We can have another meeting, but this time for the kids. We'll talk about what's really going on and how we can support each other." The girl's eyes lit up at the suggestion, but a shadow crossed her face as she considered the risk. "You think it'll help?" "It has to," Jack replied, his voice steady. He turned to Maria and saw she was listening intently. "We can't let fear silence us. Just like we spoke out today, we need to give the kids a chance to speak out too." Maria nodded slowly, her eyes brightening. "I can help, Jack. I can talk to them. I know what it's like to feel different or singled out." Jack's heart swelled with gratitude. In that moment, he recognized how much strength they could draw from each other. "Let us set something up. A safe space for the kids to express themselves like we did today." The girl smiled, a flicker of hope igniting in her expression. "I'll ask them. I think they'll want to. I hope they'll want to. Thank you." As she hurried away, Jack felt both a wave of relief and a tremor of excitement. But also, a tinge of anxiety for what lay ahead. Could he really bring all those kids together? More importantly, would they feel safe enough to share their struggles? Maria placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "You're doing something good, Jack. Remember that." He looked at her, the warmth of her support wrapping around him like a hug. He still had so many questions, so many uncertainties. Was this the right direction? What if the teens were met with the same harsh realities that they had faced? As the crowd began to disperse, Jack's mind raced. But in the midst of all this, he felt a flicker of optimism. Perhaps this meeting would be the first step to not just protecting Maria and Emily, but empowering a whole generation of kids to lift each other up instead of bringing each other down. Then he noticed a disturbance off to the side. A group of teenagers stood huddled together, their eyes darting toward him and Maria. They looked uncertain, and their body language echoed a familiar fear. Jack's heart thudded. It seemed they were on the brink of something critical. "Maria," he began, but the words caught in his throat. She turned towards the group, and Jack could see her courage building once again. Suddenly, one of the teens stepped forward, tension radiating from her, as if she was about to take a leap of faith. "Can we talk to you guys? We really need to figure this out." Jack took a deep breath, bracing himself for whatever revelations awaited them, knowing this conversation could change everything. What truths lay behind their fears, and would they finally find the understanding they so desperately sought? Jack's heart raced as he registered the fear etched on the faces of the teenagers before him. This was at the moment that could lead to real change or another hurtful dead end. He took a step closer, inviting them in with his presence. "Of course," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "What is going on?" The girl who had stepped forward, her brow furrowed, glanced backward at her friends before continuing. "It's about what is happening to Emily, and we're all feeling it too." Jack noticed the way her hands fidgeted, nervous energy crackling between them. He could see the others shifting too, waiting for someone to take the next step. Maria stepped forward, her eyes shining with empathy. "You can talk to us. We want to help." These were not just kids. They were a collective force, grappling with the same injustices that had haunted them for too long. Slowly, another girl in the group, her voice shaky, added, "It's hard for us to speak out. Every time we try, people just ignore us or make it worse. We feel like we're fighting a losing battle." Jack felt a pang in his chest. That deep sense of isolation was something he could relate to, as a father sometimes feeling equally overwhelmed. "You're not alone, though," he said quickly, trying to inject a sense of unity into the conversation. "We're all here together." There was silence, heavy and palpable. Then, one boy, his expression a mix of anger and hurt, leaned in. "But we've tried before. No one listens. They just laugh or tell us to get over it." Jack understood now. This wasn't just about speaking out. It was about feeling heard and validated. "What if we created a meeting focused on this?" he suggested. "A safe space where you can share your feelings, where your voices matter." The teenagers exchanged glances, a flicker of hope sparking among them. The boy who had spoken first leaned in closer, curiosity piqued. "You really think that would help?" Maria nodded, her voice steady as she encouraged the group. "Absolutely. Together, we can push back against what is happening. You don't have to carry this burden alone anymore." The change in the air was unmistakable. Jack felt it like a rising tide, their shared fears transforming into the beginnings of strength. It wasn't just about Emily anymore. It was about all of them reclaiming their voices. "I can help facilitate, too," Maria added, her passion shining through. "We need to do this together. We can create a plan to stand against the bullying. But most importantly, we'll listen to each other." Their eyes began to brighten, the weight of their fear lightening just a little. They weren't just talking anymore. They were becoming a community, a support network that could do more than what they could dream alone. The group seemed to collectively exhale. Jack took a moment to absorb the atmosphere. These kids were ready to step forward. They were willing to fight against the tide of silence and fear. But then, as the energy shifted, he hesitated. What if the next meeting brought more than just voices? What if it ignited a flame of retaliation or anger from those who had tormented them? What if we're not ready? He thought, a lingering uncertainty hanging over his heart. "Let us meet tomorrow after school," Jack said, squaring his shoulders against the swell of apprehension within him. "We can start planning, and we'll figure it out together." The group nodded, each face marked with determination for a fight they were finally ready to embrace. The relief was palpable, like the first breath after a long-held plunge. As they began to disperse, the air buzzed with a newfound energy. Jack felt invigorated yet anxious, knowing the stakes were high. He turned to Maria, who wore a hopeful smile. "Do you really think we can pull this off?" he asked, half hopeful, half terrified about what lay ahead. "We have to try," she replied, resolute. "For Emily, and for every kid who feels alone." Jack's heartbeat quickened once more. Tomorrow was going to be monumental, filled with both possibility and uncertainty. He could already feel the world changing around them, but would it be enough to face what awaited? As they walked away from the gathering, he glanced back at the teens. One thought struck him hard. Would their courage match the challenges that lay ahead? A journey was unfolding, but with what consequences? The next day arrived faster than Jack had anticipated. As he sat in the parking lot, glancing at his watch, nervous energy swirled inside him. Each passing minute deepened the anticipation and anxiety. He saw the school bell ringing, watched the students spill out of the building, and felt his heart race. Would anyone show up? The thought lingered in the air like a weight. His fingers tapped against the steering wheel as he recalled the faces of those eager kids from the day before. Each frightened but resolute, each longing for change. Finally, he saw Maria striding toward him, her face lit with determination. Behind her, a handful of teenagers followed, some smiling shyly while others looked hesitant but hopeful. Jack stepped out of his car, meeting them halfway. "Hey, everyone," he greeted, forcing a bright smile through his own nerves. "I'm glad you all made it." "Of course we did. We want to make a difference," whipped back one of the girls, her voice strong yet underscored by a flicker of uncertainty. Jack led them to a bench beneath a broad oak tree, its leaves rustling gently with the breeze. He took a deep breath, feeling the heat of the sun mixed with the weight of their collective mission. "All right, so let us talk about how we want to approach this." They arranged themselves in a circle, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Jack could see their palms press against their thighs, fists clenched, ready to claim space and assert themselves for once. "I think we should start by listing what we want to talk about," Maria suggested, her eyes darting from face to face, seeking engagement. "All the things we've felt lately, everything you think needs to change." A quiet paused as they processed the idea, then slowly, voices emerged. "It's the bullying," one boy shared, his voice wavering but strong under the weight of truth. "And people just spreading rumors." Another chimed in, "And the teachers don't listen. They don't really see what's going on." Jack's heart swelled. Here it was, a peek into the raw frustration hidden beneath smiles and laughter. They were naming it. They were making it real. Little by little, frustration turned to action. They mapped out ideas, a flyer, an organized forum, maybe even a social media campaign. Jack watched in awe as they buoyed each other up, coaxing out their voices and ideas. But as they generated dialogue, the tension in Jack's stomach tightened with a familiar anxiety. What awaited them? He recalled the kids' warning of laughter, mockery, and dismissal. What if retaliation did come? "Guys, I want to be real with you," he began, the words tumbling out of his mouth before he could catch himself. "There might be pushback. You've mentioned those reactions before. It won't be easy." The silence was heavy. One girl finally broke it. "But we've been quiet long enough. What's worse, keeping silent or speaking up?" Jack marveled at her bravery. "Exactly. That's the spirit. You can't change the world without taking a risk." Their eyes glinted with understanding, a flicker of determination igniting among them, racing through the group like wildfire. They would each grow into leaders. Yet unease nestled into his mind again. Did they grasp the magnitude of their actions? Just as he was about to express his concerns, Maria shifted in her seat. "What if we hold a rally?" she suggested, her enthusiasm contagious. "A way to unite not just us, but all those feeling left out." The idea drew murmurs of agreement around the circle. Jack felt his breath hitch. A rally? Would they be ready for such a bold step? As excitement swelled, he glanced at each determined face, their inner steel shining clear. His heart drummed against his chest. Their commitment to stand up was a double-edged sword. Would that strength be enough to guard them against the fallout? Jack swallowed, resolution bubbling up within him. "Okay then," he nodded, "let us do it." But deep down, a single question nagged at him. What if their rally drew not only support, but also the unwanted attention of those who wanted to silence them? Would they truly be able to withstand everything that was about to unfold? The day of the rally dawned bright and clear, the sun casting a warm glow over the schoolyard. Jack parked his car, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and dread. He could see students gathering in clusters, some looking uncertain, while others sported bright, homemade signs proclaiming slogans of unity and hope. As he stepped out, the air buzzed with nervous energy. Jack's gaze drifted to Maria, who was adjusting a particularly large banner proclaiming, "Voices Matter." She looked so focused, so filled with purpose. Jack approached her, wanting to soak in every ounce of her determination. "Hey, you did an amazing job organizing everything," he said, his voice barely carrying over the low hum of chatter around them. "Thanks, Jack." She beamed, her confidence shining brighter than the sun. "But this is just the start. We can really reach people." More students poured into the area, their faces a sea of anxious hope. Jack felt as if he was standing on the edge of something monumental, something that could change the course of their school year. Yet, a knot twisted in his stomach, a reminder of those who might not welcome their message. Minutes later, the gathering was a vibrant spectacle of color and energy. A microphone was set up at the front, and the chatter quieted as the first speaker stepped forward. Jack squinted into the sun, spotting Sam, the boy who had bravely shared his experiences with bullying. "Hey, everyone." Sam's voice rang through the air, shaky at first. Then, he gathered himself, his expression shifting from fear to resolute strength. "Tonight, we raise our voices for everyone who has felt alone, for everyone who has been hurt. We want to stay silent." Cheers erupted from the crowd, a wave of resilience that swept over Jack. This was the moment all of them had been waiting for, a chance to finally be heard. But as the speeches continued, his heart ached with worry. Jack scanned the faces in the crowd, searching for signs of dissent. A group of older students hung back, their whispers low but pointed. Still, he pushed away the dark thoughts clinging to his mind. These kids were brave. They were taking a stand. Jack stepped in with Maria to support the next speaker, a girl named Lily, who had been pouring her heart into her words about the emotional toll of being ignored. Halfway through her speech, Jack felt a sudden shift in the atmosphere, a tension that rippled through the crowd. His eyes darted around, catching the glint of something metallic. He squinted in the direction of the older students, who were now laughing loudly, mocking the proceedings with whispers laced with venom. "Shut up," a voice broke out from their group. Jack's heart plummeted. It was toxic, a swarm of negativity aiming to derail everything they had worked for. "Just ignore them," Maria urged, catching his worried glance, her determination unfaltering. But while she spoke with courage, Jack could see the fear creeping into the faces of the younger students. Would this rally become a target? Would they close down like flowers in a storm? Jack stepped up beside Lily, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. She stumbled, looked at him, and he nodded, urging her on. "You can do this," his eyes said, silently encouraging her to hold her ground. But as the rally reached its peak, something in Jack shifted. He felt an urgent need to protect these kids, a fierce instinct to shield them from any harm, to show them that there was courage in standing together. "Everybody," he shouted over the crowd, his voice cracking but unwavering. "This is our moment. We won't let anyone silence us." The energy in the air crackled, charged with raw emotion. What happened next felt electric, a ripple of unity spreading through the crowd. But Jack's heart hammered with new fears. What if their courage triggered chaos? Would he be able to protect them when it mattered most? And in that instant, staring out at the multitude of young faces, he knew there was no turning back. The path ahead was unclear. The next moments would shape who they truly were ready to become. As they all stood together, voices raised in unison against the noise, Jack wondered what might happen when those who wished for silence would come looking for them. Would they stand strong, or would they somehow shatter? The crowd erupted with applause, the sound engulfing Jack like a warm blanket, chasing away the chill of doubt. He held his breath, feeling the rising tide of energy wash over him and every student around him. The mockery from the older students faded into the background, overshadowed by the powerful echo of their collective voices and the determination illuminating their faces. Then, he locked eyes with Maria. She was grinning, her spirit infectious. "See, they can feel it. We're stronger than they think." She shouted over the noise, and Jack couldn't help but smile back, even amid his swirling thoughts. They were doing it. They were finding their voices. But as he turned back to the rally, he noticed the group at the edge of the schoolyard was moving closer, their laughter ceasing as they watched the rising energy with predatory interest. It was unsettling. Jack felt his stomach twist again, fear creeping in like a shadow, threatening to dim the light of their moment. Lily finished her speech, her face flushed with warmth and emotion. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Jack caught a glimmer of doubt flash across her eyes. She had put so much into her message about being heard, yet that group lingered, and the air was thickening. Would their joy mean anything if it was disrupted? Then it happened. The first jeer cut through the applause. What a bunch of losers. It was loud, jarring, a sharp blade slicing through their unity. A wave of gasps rippled through the crowd as heads turned, faces turning pale with concern. Jack clenched his fists, his heart pounding in his chest. Just keep going, urged Maria, pushing Jack gently forward. But her voice trembled just a little. Jack could see the younger kids cringe, some stepping backward, shrinking under the shadow of impending confrontation that he stepped forward, raising his hands to quiet the crowd. No, we won't let them ruin this, he shouted, more fiercely than he intended. Familiar faces from the crowd met his gaze, cheeks flushed with enthusiasm and fear. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their eyes on him. Everybody, this rally is about us, about our stories. They can try to bring us down, but we're not going to let that happen. Jack completely forgot his own worries, focusing instead on encouraging the others. As he spoke, he saw a shift among the younger kids. Shoulders straightened, chins lifted higher. The air shifted, charged with positivity once more. Together, we stand together, he called, and to his surprise, the crowd roared back in agreement, drowning out the dissenters. But just as the rally regained its momentum, the older students surged forward, a pack of wolves sensing weakness. Jack's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He felt less like a leader and more like a soldier standing his ground. This wasn't just about words anymore. It was about protecting the hope and courage they had built together in that moment. With tension tightening like a vice and their newfound strength bubbling beneath the surface, Jack knew they were on the brink of something much greater than he could have anticipated. What would happen if the confrontation escalated? Would their voices hold strong, or would fear overtake the bravery they had found? The air crackled with uncertainty, the rally teetering on the edge of chaos. Jack realized that the world outside would not just accept their voices, they would fight back. As he prepared to face whatever came next, Jack felt an undeniable surge of determination. They could either crumble or rise stronger than ever before, and he would fight for them, for every last voice that wanted to be heard. But would they truly be prepared for the battle set to come? What awaited them just beyond the shouts that dared to silence them? The crowd shifted, a sea of bodies drawn tight with anticipation. Jack faced the advancing group, swallowing hard. He could see the sneers on their faces, their confidence fueled by years of dominance. Every step they took felt like a threat, like an attempt to reclaim the power Jack and his friends were fighting to seize. Stay close, he whispered to Maria and the younger kids beside him, a protective instinct surfacing. He felt a weight shift between them, their fears intermingled with determination, simmering just below the surface. Don't back down, shouted a voice from the back of the crowd. It was Sam, a sophomore who had always known when to stand tall. His words ignited a flicker of courage in Jack, reassuring him that this wasn't just his fight. This collective energy surged forward, bolstering their resolve. The older kids closed in, laughter dripping with contempt, but Jack held his ground. We're not here to fight, he shouted, his voice steady. We're here to stand up for ourselves. The leader of the older group stepped forward, his stance oozing confidence. Look at you losers. You really think this makes a difference? Jack's heart raced, but he refused to let the cynicism seep in. It does, he countered, feeling the beat of hope thrum loudly in his chest. This isn't just about us. It's about being seen, about being heard. We have stories worth telling. The face of the senior was a mask of skepticism. Stories? Please, what's your story? Your kids. What do you know about life? The crowd tensed, a shudder running through them. Jack felt the eyes of the younger kids upon him and sensed their worry. No, He wouldn't let this moment fizzle out. We might be young, Jack said, his voice rising above the chatter. But we felt pain. We faced rejection. And we refused to let anyone, no matter how loud, drown us out. A murmur rippled through the crowd, amplifying his words. The breeze seemed to shift, bringing with it the faintest scent of possibility. Maria stepped forward beside him, her hand gripping his arm. "Don't forget why we're here," she said, eyes sparkling with defiance. And the crowd rallied behind them. "We are here," they echoed, a chorus gaining strength with every repetition. The older kids stumbled back, their laughter faltering. "Feel that?" Jack shouted. "That's the sound of our voices coming together. We deserve this moment." Just then, a young girl in the front squeezed her way to the front. "What if they don't leave us alone?" she asked, voice trembling. Jack's heart ached at her fear, but he knelt to her level, meeting her gaze. "Together, we stand. Together, they can't silence us. They can't take away our courage." A collective firmness filled the air as he glanced around at each hopeful face. The ground under their feet vibrated with the tension. He could feel the challenge looming ahead, a confrontation that could either break them or forge them anew. But just as the rally seemed to reclaim its energy, chaos erupted at the edge of the crowd. A loud crash echoed, a reminder of how fragile their moment truly was. "What was that?" A voice rang out, panic spreading. Jack's heart sank. He whipped around, eyes scanning the space, adrenaline hitting him like a tidal wave. And as the reality of the moment hit, Jack realized they were standing on the brink, teetering between unity and upheaval. Would they find strength together in the face of uncertainty? Would they rise, or would they falter? With tension thick, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something much bigger was about to unfold, something that could change everything they had fought for. What awaited them, just beyond the surge of confrontation? The sound of the crash echoed through the air, stark and jarring. Jack's stomach twisted as he turned to face the direction of the noise. A metal trash can had toppled over, rolling awkwardly into the legs of a boy who had been standing at the fringes, pushing his way through the crowd. Laughter erupted from the older kids, their sneers returning with a fresh wave of mockery. "Look at them, they can't even handle this," one of them jeered, pointing fingers. Jack felt the heat rise in his cheeks, frustration mixing with the fear of how quickly things could spiral out of control. "Stay focused," he urged, trying to rally his friends. "We're here for a reason." But the younger kids behind him were restless. Murmurs of doubt spread like wildfire. "Are we really going to stand up to them?" one whispered. Jack turned back to the girl who had spoken earlier, fear still etched on her face. "Remember what we said," he replied softly, locking eyes with her. "We're united." Just then, Sam stepped back into view, his fists clenched at his sides. "We can't let them tear us apart. Not now," he shouted, urging the group forward. The fire in his voice stirred something in Jack, sparking a courage he desperately needed now more than ever. The older kids, tasting the nervous energy in the crowd, stepped closer again. The leader, still smirking, crossed his arms. "You think you're tough? You're just kids pretending to play grown-up." Jack felt the surge of emotion bubbling up inside him, something fierce and undeniable. "You might see us as kids," he said, grounding himself, "but we're here for each other. And that makes us powerful." For a split second, the crowd seemed to hold its breath. There was a flicker, a hesitation among the older group. Had he struck a chord? Could they really challenge the narrative that the seniors had imposed for so long? "Just get out of our way," shouted another voice from the younger crowd, emboldened by Jack's words. The chant rose again around them. "We are here. We are here." Suddenly, there was another loud crash, but this time it wasn't objects spilling over. It was the sound of fear transformed into defiance. The young girl who had been scared before now stood taller, fists balled at her sides. Jack grinned, pride swelling in his chest. Other kids joined in, stepping forward as if they were breaking free from chains they didn't even know they wore. And just as momentum seemed to be shifting, the leader of the older kids barked a command. "Enough," he shouted, but the order lacked the usual authority. It was a tremor, a sign of uncertainty. Jack sensed that the balance was tilting, but before he could rally his friends to press forward, another figure appeared on the edge of the crowd. It was Coach Miller, the school's gym teacher, striding into the maelstrom with purpose. The stark authority in his presence sliced through the chaos like a knife. "What is going on here?" he called, his voice booming. The collective energy of the crowd shifted again. Confusion mingled with annoyance. Jack caught Maria's eye, and for a moment, they both held their breath. Would Coach Miller side with the younger kids in their fight for respect, or would he be just another wall standing between them and what they were fighting for? With the weight of the moment hanging in the balance, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were teetering on a precipice. What would happen when the truth collided with the expectations of authority? Would their courage hold under scrutiny? Everything was poised for a decision, one that could either cement their bond or break it apart. Would they stand united in front of the coach, risking everything for their voice? Or was it time to retreat, back into the shadows once more? The crowd fell silent, the tension thick. Jack's heart raced, each beat echoing the potential tipping point. Coach Miller surveyed the scene, eyes narrowing as they roamed over the gathered students, pausing on Jack and Maria. "What is all this about?" he asked again, his tone demanding answers. In that moment, Jack stepped forward, swallowing hard. Now was the time for clarity, to stand tall, not only for himself, but for the bravery brewing in those behind him. "We're standing together, Coach. We're letting our voices be heard." His words came out clear, resonating like a battle cry. Maria chimed in. "We won't let bullying overshadow our stories. We're all in this together." There was a ripple of agreement that surged through the younger crowd, adventurous spirits rising. Coach Miller's expression shifted, the weight of their determination hitting him. Instead of scorn, there was a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "I see," he said slowly, taking the moment to absorb the energy swirling around. "And this is good. It's important." That acknowledgement felt like a wave of relief washing over Jack. He could feel the fear dissipating as others began to breathe easier, comforted by the support of an authority figure. "Listen," Coach Miller continued, his voice becoming firmer, "bullying and judgment have no place in our school." Those simple words echoed across the yard, amplifying the courage in the air. A murmur of surprise broke out from the older kids, their smirks faltering. Jack felt a surge of empowerment run down his spine. It wasn't just a battle anymore. It was a collective movement, a wave pushing against the tide of negativity. "And you kids," Coach Miller addressed the older students directly, "if you think this is a joke, I will stand here until you understand the damage you're causing. I won't tolerate it any longer." The challenge was clear. Jack watched as the aura among the older kids shifted. The confidence they had exuded began to crack. "Are you ready to stand together?" Jack called out, raising his hands, his voice ringing through the crowd. "Are we ready to show everyone what unity can achieve?" "Yes," erupted from the younger students, excitement bubbling with each beat in the air. They were lifting their voices higher, shaking off the weight that had once kept them oppressed. Then a spontaneous chant broke from the crowd. "We are stronger together. We are stronger together." The energy swelled, amplifying with each repetition. The older group shifted uneasily, whispers of discontent rising among them. There it was Jack felt in that moment, the cusp of transformation. They weren't merely trying to defend one another anymore. They were building each other up. They were creating a community, one that fostered respect and understanding. Then, a brave soul from the back stepped forward. "Lily again. It's time to stop being scared." Her voice rang out strong. "No more hiding. Together, we can make a difference." Jack beamed. He could see the determination etched on the faces around him. The fear was there, but mingled with hope, swirling like a magic potion that promised the chance to rewrite their stories. With newfound determination, the crowd moved as one, hands raised, chanting louder. He glanced back at Coach Miller, who was nodding along with the rhythm. The power of the moment surged as the chant reverberated through the schoolyard. A smile spread across Jack's face. He noticed Maria beaming beside him, her eyes sparkling with pride. "We did this," she whispered, awe and gratitude interlaced in her voice. The energy shifted fully now. One by one, the older classmates began to retreat, the sneers fading into uncertainty as the younger kids broke free of their inhibitions. Jack felt lighter, every worry unraveling as they became the storm that shaped change. As the rally concluded, Jack knew they had crossed a threshold. They had not only stood for their stories, but had created a legacy of empowerment, one they carry with them far beyond those school grounds. Emotions surged within him. Joy and relief mingled with fiery hope. They were creating something beautiful, a transformative force of love and resilience. As Jack looked around, he realized they had finally begun to build something authentic, a sanctuary of confidence, trust, and acceptance. Jack clasped Maria's hand, an unspoken bond of friendship and shared mission holding them firm. This was only the beginning, breathing life into their community, one voice at a time. And so, with hearts full and spirits unyielding, they forged ahead into a brighter tomorrow. You need to subscribe now to follow the journey and witness even more inspiring stories that can transform lives. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more incredible people looking for hope. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending, because we want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second, to help spread the word of unity and strength.